Hello cloud experts. So in this session we are going to talk about 5 characteristics of cloud computing. My name is Sanjay Kumar and I'm a cloud trainer and consultant. So as per NIST definition, the cloud computing is all about shared pool of resources, shared pool of configurable computing resources which can be network, servers, storage, application and services, and it have basically 5 essential characteristics, 3 different service models and 4 deployment models. Now in this session what we are going to talk about is the 5 essential characteristics and what are their limitations and the functions and features. Now when I talk about characteristics of cloud, basically I talk about on-demand self-service where consumer can configure the resources the way they want. Broad network access, these resources are available over the internet from anywhere in the world, so you can configure the resources from wherever you want. Multi-tenancy and resource pooling, these resources are actually available for multiple people to use and they are pooled in from various type of server and the capabilities of different kind of hardwares. Rapid elasticity and scalability, these resources can be scaled up and down as and when we need, and the services are being measured so you pay only for the services what you use. So let's move forward and understand what about all these characteristics and what are the different aspects we need to consider when we talk about these 5 characteristics of cloud. On-demand self-service. A consumer can provision the cloud resources according to the requirement and can go global in minutes. Some of these resources can be server capabilities or server capacities, unlimited storage, any services, any software as a service, auto scaling and load balancing. You can scale up and scale down and you can balance the load between different virtual machines. So the user is sending a configuration request and there will be a self-service framework which is available in the cloud and which will allocate the resources according to your need. So resources can be configured by the user itself and it is available all the time. So what can be the different option? So you can configure these resources by using web-based graphical user interface. So you don't really need to know the command lines and stuff like that. You can simply do it by using a browser-based graphic user interface. You can also do it by using some CLI tools, which is command line interface. You can also do it with the RESTful APIs, and you can also do it by using some software development kit. So there are various ways you can configure these resources. You can do it with the GUI, you can do it with CLI, you can do it with API as well as some software development kits. Now, broad network access, the second characteristic of cloud computing. All cloud resources are available for configuration from anywhere in the world with variety of clients and devices like mobile phone, laptops, desktop. So you can configure these resources by using any devices, whether it is a mobile phone, laptop or desktop. We can modify, monitor and add, change or delete these resources at any point of time from anywhere, and it comes with a lot of security feature as well. So what do we mean by that? You have infrastructure available, you have platforms available and you have services available, and all these things are configurable from anywhere in the world by using a simple internet connection. Resource pooling. The cloud is composed of many different servers which are pooled in, and all those capacities are combined so that they can be provided to n number of different users. So what benefit we get out of it? The benefit what we get out of this is EOS, economics of scale. When millions of users are actually using the same resources, so it will have the less cost to the service provider as well as it will give the benefits to the end users. So these resources can be compute resources, can be storage resources and can be networking resources. All these resources are pulled in, and on top of this, we are running some hypervisor and creating some virtual machines. Every virtual machine can be given to one user, and one user can get more than one virtual machine as well. One application can get more than one virtual machine. Every different virtual machine can have a different type of operating system and can host n number of applications which are user specific or customer specific. Resource pooling. Now, resource pooling also allows me to have multiple tenancy. That means n number of users are accessing the same pool of resources. Out of these resources, some can be shared and some can be dedicated for one particular customer. Just to give you an example, this particular server can be allocated to only this particular user, but these two users can be sharing the same hardware. So we have possibility to have dedicated host as well as shared tenancy. Now, resource pooling. A lot of computing, storage, networking resources are pooled in to create bigger virtual environments and assigned to many customers in multi-tenancy models, and are released when they are not required anymore and just charge for what is being used. So what is actually happening here? We have created multiple virtual environments and assign them to n number of different customers in multi-tenancy model, and we will release these resources whenever somebody is not using it, so that we will charge the user only for the services, only for the capacities what they're going to use. It also gives an option and flexibility of choosing resources based on the choice, based on the latencies, based on the consumer experience, the geolocation, and also based on the government regulation. If government regulation wants to have your resources in a given geographical area, it also gives you flexibility to have your data only in a certain geographic location. The exact location of these resources may or may not be known by the end consumer. So it depends on your services, but exact location of these resources may or may not be known by the end customer. Rapid elasticity. So what do we understand by rapid elasticity? Capacities can be elastically provisioned and released. So all the capacities what you need can be increased and can be decreased whenever you need it or whenever you don't need it. So for example, in some cases it is done automatically to scale rapidly outwards and inward with demand. So you can increase the capacity whenever demand increases, and it will decrease the capacity whenever demand is decreasing, and you will only pay for the capacities what you are going to use. Minimize the cost of resources of not being used. So you will not pay for the resources what you are not using, you will pay only for the resources what you are using at a particular time. Increase capacity for spike in traffic. This is particularly useful when your traffic is bursty in nature and you need to increase the capacity whenever there is a spike in your traffic. Otherwise you can keep your capacities low. Quick time to market new services. Because you can increase or decrease the capacity whenever you want, you just need very less time to market new services to your customers. Now, how do we understand this? So if we go with fixed capacity, now when we have the fixed capacity and our traffic is like this, which is changing across the time, now we are actually wasting a lot of resources. All these resources are being wasted. So typically they say in fixed capacity kind of environment, you waste 76% of capacity. So 76% of the capacity is being wasted whenever you go with on-prem data center or whenever you go with fixed capacity. However, in case of rapid elasticity, in case of cloud computing, your capacity can be increased or decreased or increased or decreased whenever your demand is changing. So we will change the capacity as and when our demand is changing, and we will only pay for the resources what are being used. Now, provision resources. You initially provision the resources and configure something called as scaling. There are various ways to configure scaling, but the easiest way to do it is called as auto scaling. Auto scaling means it will have some thresholds, and whenever those thresholds are being breached, you will increase or decrease the capacities. So whenever you are monitoring the resources and whenever you are actually need more capacity, it will be scaling up the resources, and whenever you don't need those capacity, it will be scaling down those resources. So you can move to, let's say, X resources, so you can increase it to 2x resources, or if you don't need it, you can actually reduce it to x by 2 resources. So you can increase the capacity whenever you need it, you can decrease the capacity whenever you don't need it. The major services, so every service which is being used in a cloud environment is being monitored, controlled, reported, and it provides transparency both to the provider and the consumer of utilized services. So you know these usage can be monitored in terms of storage what you are using, processing what you are using, the bandwidth requirements, and also the active user accounts, and there can be n number of other parameters which can be used for a major services, and you pay only for the services what are being used. Now this is the NIST definition. So major services, pay as you go. You only pay for the services what you use, server capacity used, operating system being used. If you use Linux, the charges are going to be different. If you use Windows, charges are slightly different than that. Location and regions where you are actually storing your data and where your services are being hosted is something will also impact the money what you pay. Type of storage and capacities, high availability, durability, accessibility, what kind of storage you use and what kind of capacities you use, that will also impact your final payments. Bandwidth consumption, what kind of bandwidth you consume, and what kind of support you need from the cloud provider, that will also change your payment. And number of requests for read and write. So this is another thing what will impact your payments. That's all in this session. I hope you enjoyed the session. Look forward to see you in the future session.